Yeah, in the last class we have covered up to this uh, this walkthrough of calling APIs from advanced REST client, and in this module we'll go through the some of the key concepts that I would like to highlight. We'll start with the intro. So here if you see in the Anypoint platform, you have the design center, you have the Anypoint management center, you have the exchange, and I think you're familiar with the this different layers we spoke in the class one, part one of these tutorials. We have system APIs, process APIs, experience APIs, these three layers of APIs. And then these all APIs will be running upon the runtime service at the yeah, you see here, right at the bottom, runtime service. So this runtime service can either be hybrid or on-premise or cloud hub again. And these this Anypoint platform uh, entire altogether it's called it's managed by the application network, which connects the backend resources, and all this is a big network whatever is happening on the Anypoint platform. So Anypoint platform quickly enables the building of an application network. That is what I wanted to highlight here. Anypoint, this all happening in one platform. It is Anypoint platform. And so the most advanced enterprise platform for designing, developing, and managing APIs and integrations is this Anypoint platform. It enables you to. It has differently built um, wide range of the way you implement, right? Like there is one pub sub model, which is like publish subscribe model that you can have. ESB and SOA architecture type, you can have that. ETL, exchange, transfer, load, you can do that with Anypoint platform. And software as service, API management, business to business, IoT, microservices, all this can be achieved by using Anypoint platform. This is uniquely built as a single product, deploy anywhere, wide range of use cases can be implemented. These are all the use cases on the top you see. So this is one of the advanced tool in the market which supports all of this together. That's why it's very precious to learn this technology. And here if you see, we have the design center. What exactly is a design center is if you log into your Anypoint platform, on the first option you'll be seeing is design center. So in the design center you design the APIs, like you create. Designing APIs means building it from the scratch. Actually you create the skeletons for every web services. If you know, there will be skeletons, stubs and skeletons, and then you build the service on top of it. So to build those stubs and skeletons and the actual the blueprint or the basic foundation of an API, we do that using RAML. RAML is a technology, it's a language that we'll be writing here. So if we click new API specification, then you can start building up the RAML. That is what the design center we are talking about. And in the design center, after that you have the API management center. So API management center are of right now three types: on-premise, private cloud, and fully managed iPaaS, that is via Cloud Hub. So basically you have to remember on-premise, private cloud, and the Cloud Hub. These are all different ways of deployment in the Anypoint management center. So once you design a application and you build it, you have different ways to deploy that. That is what I'm saying here. So here you have on-premise, you have your servers and bare metals on your company's location, and it's controlled internally. Then it's on-premise. Private cloud is like you have bought some external services like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, or Google Kubernetes clusters. So, and then you bring those onto your system, bare metals, and then you install the Anypoint Management Center on top of it. It's called a private cloud. Or if you plainly want to use service provided by MuleSoft, instead of worrying on configuring of any of these services, which is easy and reliable, is Cloud Hub. This is fully managed iPaaS. Okay. So where do we see that in the Anypoint platform? So if you go back to here to the Anypoint platform, and then you have this runtime manager, right? If you click this runtime manager, you'll have to choose a environment. Right now let's choose a sandbox environment. And then when you go and click on this deploy application on the center, here you'll see the deployment targets, right? So here you see Cloud Up 2.0. This is a new feature which came up recently in the market, like in 2022, um, August, September, around that time, 6 months back. This is a new Cloud Up feature, which is also a service which is based on Kubernetes kind of environment, but you don't have to go there yet. But right now we can see Cloud Hub hybrid, right, which we are seeing here. On-prem means you'll if you configure the on-premise, then you'll see another option here. So to do that, you will have to install this runtime manager on your local and then configure that runtime, which you don't need to know right now. And this is the different deployment options. So you can basically deploy anywhere once you design. So design always happens in where? Design center, but deployment can be of different types. That is the base of this slide. And then, so unique benefits of each layer, right? We will have this application network. Overall, in the application network, we have this API led connectivity. API connectivity means the three layers: system, process, and the experience layers. This API led connectivity is there, which is a wrapper for the integrations and API management. And this all together will give you the benefits of speed of delivery, actionable visibility, secure by design, and future proof architecture, and also intentional self service. We'll look into these benefits each as we go through this session. And then here, if you see, we have the first, it starts with API specification, that is design. And then once you design that in the design center, you will stimulate in the sense like mocking the service, and then we'll get a feedback and validate. So we'll walk through this entire life cycle in today's session: design, stimulate, feedback, and validate. And each thing happens in a different UI in the Anypoint platform, that is web-based tool. So which starts with API designer, and in the API designer on the corner, you will have this mocking service. And then once you have tested that application, then you can publish it over to the exchange. And then once it's there on exchange, you can also do some documentation, which is called API notebooks. So basically you just have to remember there are 4 steps for designing. Okay, nothing complex. After these 4 steps of designing, then you can go to the next step. I mean, you can step out of the Anypoint platform, that is a web-based tool, and now you can get on to your Anypoint Studio, that is your IDE, just like your Eclipse. So on the IDE, you build that application which you are designing through your API designer. And once you build that application or API or integration, then you can test that before deployment over to the server. You have to unit test it, just like we do unit test for any Java or any .NET projects, we also do the unit test to this MuleSoft APIs using a tool called Munit, 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 MuleSoft unit testing. That is a tool. We'll go through that also. That will cover all the testing of MuleSoft components. So how many phases have we passed now of a API lifecycle so far?
Till testing.
Yes, correct. And now if you see, we are seeing more broader level. Once the application, so after test, what happens? The application is ready. So once the application is ready, you have the next set of things to do. That is, deploy the service, create the deploy proxy, secure, monitor, analyze, troubleshoot, scale, respond. So as a developer, you start with the designer and then you build the API, test it, and then deploy. After deployment, these are all the things that can be done. That can mostly be a part of a analyst or your manager or anyone who is managing these APIs or who want to have some data upon, like a lead, right? As a developer, you personally won't be looking at these tools especially, but if you are the only developer working in an organization and who is taking care of all the API lifecycle of MuleSoft, then you will have to come here, and based on the usage, some may not be using monitoring, some may not be using analysis, right? Some may not be using troubleshooting. But so it depends upon what all implementations you have on the customer side, you would need to perform these series of steps after you deploy. So this Anypoint platform has runtime manager, as we have seen, right? There are different we have the runtime manager, Cloud Hub on premise, Cloud Hub 2.0, they're all in the runtime manager. And API manager is there, where you can manage the APIs. What do you want to do by managing the APIs, right? You can put the policies to an API, and you can also um, govern the APIs. You can manage, basically there are so many things you can manage to an API that you can do in this API manager. And then Anypoint monitoring is a place where you can monitor like how the application is performing, the deployed application, the one you built and deployed, how much at what time it is used to get some beautiful graphs, dashboards, and pinpoint the issue of an API when something happens. And API analytics are a place where you can see, as a screenshot here shows, where the API is more called and what are places in the world this service is being used and how it's performing. These are all used in the API analytics. And here is a walkthrough. Anypoint platform. So we'll be going through this walkthrough, okay? And let's see. I see Kanil also joined. Hi, Kanil. Have you gone through this walkthrough?
Hello.
Okay. Explore Anypoint platform and browse to Exchange. So let's do that. I'm going through Exchange, and then review the API portal for REST API in Exchange. Discover and make calls to the training American flights API in the public exchange. So I'm going to copy this name and search with this name, American flights API. And I have two. So one is API specification fragment and REST API. So we were discussing about the REST API. So click this one and return to the platform. And then let's go to building integration platforms. Here, what's in a typically mule for flow, like in the MuleSoft. If you see in the here in the Anypoint studio, we have this flow. This is a one of the API, a simple API. So these are all different connectors which are placed in a rectangle right here. This entire rectangle is called a flow. Flow means which goes from left to right in a flow. Like this is how the sequence of steps will happen. First the request comes in here, and then what do you want to do the next, how the request goes, as the arrow shows here, it goes in this way from right to left, so left to right. So this is called the flow. So a mule event source that indicates the execution of the flow can be triggered by an event such as a consumer request from a mobile device, a change to data in database, the creation of new customer ID in SaaS application. So here, to trigger this API, a request has to come in, or if you put a database connector, and if something happens in the database, like new record has been inserted, let's assume, whenever new record is been inserted, or a file is being placed into the file system, then also that will be a trigger to start this flow. This flow is initially idle, right? It's not doing anything, it's just sitting there. But to start it, there should be a trigger. So listener can be a trigger, and there are many triggers. Scheduler can be a trigger. Scheduler means I will define at what time should this application run, that is called a scheduler. And you can also define batch, and you can define the uh, database listener, file listener, or so many things. Like any of those triggers can start this API. Basically that's what they are trying to tell here. And mule event processor that transforms, filters, enriches, and process the event and its messages. So basically this entire flow, is called a mule event, event processor. And this can transform, like whenever you make some changes to the request, or get some data and manipulate it, it's called transform. And then you're trying to remove some of the fields if you have such a criteria, and you are trying to give only, suppose student records are coming, I don't want all the details, I just need their address and student ID number. In that case, I'm ignoring rest of the fields, right? This is called filtering. So we can do filtering. And enriching means, suppose I'm getting students data and also want to get which teacher is assigned to which student, as a class teacher, then I have to pull on and get access to teachers database as well. So we are trying to make two calls in one request and give a response. So we are enriching the data, which is giving more to the data, like a metadata, or even the different data we are combining and giving together, all of them together is called enriching. And process the event and its message. So all this, every step is called a mule event. And then creating integration application. So here, uh, okay, now we are getting into the design center. Okay, the first phase. This is the anatomy of the design center. So on the left side, you see the project explorer. So listen carefully here, I'll ask questions. So if you see on the left side, it's called the project explorer. And on the top, you see the application status, and these are all the cards. At the bottom, you see the logs. So flow designer is a new way of implementing all together at one place. So if you go to design center, so click on this new Mule app. This means you don't have to even go to this Anypoint Studio to build an API. You can build directly here. So let's type this as Anypoint flow demo and create app. So let's go through this walkthrough session, or let's complete the theory part first, and then 56. So when you create a Mule application project in Design Center, as we just did, right? A new application is created and opened in the Flow Designer. So whatever this has opened right now, it's called a Flow Designer, as you see in the background. The application is deployed to, so as soon as this is created, the application is deployed to a Mule hosted runtime called Cloud Hub Worker in the cloud and started. So this is also deployed and started before we have created anything. So when you make changes to the application in the Flow Designer and are ready to test it, you will need to run the application again, which updates the application deployed to the worker. So if you make any changes, you have to redeploy it so that you see those changes immediately in the Flow Designer. Each worker runs in a separate container from every other application, is deployed and monitored independently, runs in a specific worker cloud in a region of the world. Workers can have different memory capacity and processing power. Apps can be scaled vertically by changing the worker size. Apps can be scaled horizontally by adding multiple workers. There are workers in different environments. Design will have sandbox and production. These are all different environments, and apps can be promoted from one environment to other environment. So the worker size here, what we are talking is the vcores, like how much of memory you want to assign to that application. So once we have a hello world application and then we deploy it onto the server, so here we can say how much of memory it can have, so that when request comes in, it has that capacity or the memory to run that request, process it, and give a response. So if it is a very small application like a proxy, then you can just give 0.1 vcore memory, which is just 500 MB. And if it is little bit bigger than, I mean little medium range application, then you can assign 0.2 vcores that will have 1 GB of memory for it to process. And if it is decent type of application, then you can assign 1 vcore, that means 1.5 GB of memory. So in this way you can assign different memory for this application which we are designing. So just remember the theory, then we'll go through the this processing in a while. And then we'll go through this walkthrough. Okay, so create a new Mule application project in the design center. So all of you, if you have registered in the Anypoint platform, open that Anypoint platform and click on the design center. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Yes, you.
Okay, fantastic. So let me know if you see this design center, and then click on create new Mule API. And if you land on this screen, let me know, then I can continue. Create an HTTP trigger for the flow in the application. So I'm coming here and selecting the HTTP. So you can, instead of scrolling down, you can also type HTTP connector, select that, and then this will be a listener, and then click next. So let's create a new one as a new Mule app, and name this as American Flights API. So I'll paste this in the chat if you want.
Yeah, so you want us to create the whole new one again?
Yeah, new one with the American Flights app. You can delete the old one if you want.
Okay, sure.
And then create app. And once you get this dialog box, click on go straight to canvas, so that we'll be landing on the home page of the flow designer. So in the new flow, we have to rename this flow. What do we want to rename? So we'll rename it as get flights. On the left side of the design flow designer, you'll see under flows tab, you'll see new flow. So click on that three buttons here on the and then click on the rename. In the rename, remove this new flow and paste get flights. G is in uppercase and rest all in lowercase, and click OK. So right now we are on this flow, get flights flow. Okay, now click on this trigger and then type HTTP just like we have done before, and we are selecting a listener as a trigger. In the path you can paste flights, you can type flights. On the top you have to see using the HTTP configuration, cloud up HTTP configuration, which should be by default. That means we are just using the predefined connections. We are not creating any new port number or base path or anything. We are just mentioning a path called flights, and we are using the predefined MuleSoft configurations, which has the port number, domain name, and all. Once you have it, click on close, and now click on the plus button here. Now we have the listener ready. Okay, after we listen to a message, we want to verify if the listener has got the message or not. To verify, we can put some logs just like you do on the any Java or .NET projects. So we go here plus symbol and we add a logger here. In the logger we want to put some message. So that message will be test. Just test, write on test here and then close. We have a logger as well. Now we have this little mule application ready which listens and logs, right? Now we want to test this. Now are you guys here? These two components, are you good?
Yes.
Okay, if you want me to stop, let me know. I'm going to click test button here. So once I click test, what is it doing? It's trying to deploy this application, redeploy this application onto a cloud up worker on the background. So basically this app is being deployed onto a server without any configuration or writing a code. This is all just UI driven. You see a small arrow on the bottom right corner. If you click that, it will come up and you can click on logs here. In logs you can see the response. If you are seeing the logs, let me know. Are you able to see the logs that this get flight successfully reconnected message at the bottom? Okay, now let's open our testing tool. What is that? Advanced REST Client, ARC. So now we are going to test this simple mule application which we have created. So in the advanced REST client, we are trying to paste the URL which we just copied. Right, and then we hit it. We supposed to get 404. We got it as the first, and then we will add this flights. So if you remember, in our request we added a base path, right? Path here as flights. So now we are hitting the right resource, and in the loggers of my API, what am I supposed to see? Any guess? So in my output logs, what am I supposed to see if this is successful? So right now I hit this API, I got 200 success message, right? In the logs, in the application logs, what am I supposed to see?
Test.
Test. Perfect. So now let's go to my logs here and see if I got test I got here. So this is successful. So this is how we created without writing any code, a basic, very basic hello world kind of app. Isn't it easy?
Yeah.
Yes.
So within a few minutes we created a API and also we deployed. So this is how fast you can generate applications in MuleSoft. And now let's look at what we can do more on this application. So view the application in runtime manager, right? Click the options below and then click on the view in runtime manager. So now I'm interested where this application is actually running. So I go on this arrow mark here and then click on view in runtime manager. I want to see where exactly it got deployed and I want to see, right? So I click on the view runtime manager. So in the runtime manager, I see this logs and also see this American flights app is the name of the API. And if I click back to the application, do you see this is the first one we created and we didn't use. I created and I didn't use, right? So I can basically go here and delete this for now because I'm not using it, just to avoid confusion. And this is the one which just got deployed and we verified it. And if you see here 0.2 v cores, that means how much of memory is allocated? Anyone? 500 GB, 500 MB, 1 GB, how much? 1.
500 MB
500
or
MB is for 1 v core, 0.1 v core. This is 0.2 v core, so 1 GB of memory has been assigned by default. So I told you all what is happening here in the mule flows is called an event. So mule event will have this structure and this structure changes. So there is, now we are currently on mule 4. Mule 3 was message driven architecture. Now this is event driven architecture. So the structure of this mule event changes whenever I mean, this is the advanced version. Earlier it was different, so I'll show you how what I'm talking about. So this is the first thing which will pop up, which is the difference between mule 3 and mule 4. Mule 4 is event, and here the message will have the payload and attributes, and mule 3 event will have payload. The message will have payload, inbound properties, outbound properties, and also they separated the variables, attachments, and exception messages out of the message. So whenever a request comes in, that will contain inbound properties, outbound properties as a part of the payload and the message, and the variables, attachments, exception messages are out of this message. But in mule 4 they encapsulated the attributes. So attribute will contain the attachments and the properties. So there are no more inbound outbound properties and there are no more attachments. It's all included inside this one thing called attributes. These attributes are inside this message payload. And again, like in mule 3, mule 4 also have variables outside the message and exception message as outside the message. The only change is the variables and the inbound outbound properties are tied together as attributes. This is the change for mule 3 to mule 4. This is an interview question. They'll ask you what is the difference between mule 3 and mule 4 event structure. So you have to answer this. In the mule 4 you have the variables, inbound outbound properties all falling into one thing called attributes, which are tied inside the message with the payload. That will be the answer.
and to this Vijay, to add to that, basically even you can see when you debug your flow, right? So when you put your breakpoint, you can see on the left side all these attributes, payload, variables, and everything.
Right. If you are not clear on what I'm explaining right now, but you will see them eventually.
So it's simple, like same like email, right? So when you send a email, there is a body, which is nothing but you can correlate it to a payload and other attributes and all like to and from. So you need to correlate like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a perfect example, Vijay. Thank you. Now we'll do few more steps to the flow designer which we just designed and deployed. So we'll try to add a listener. Okay, so we'll go back to this application here, and then we'll try to click the down arrow in the upper right corner of the logs and panel, close it, click on the HTTP listener card to expand it, and select output tab. So we will minimize this and click on this, and output tab, go to the output tab to the listener. Okay, so here you will see a call happened because of the test response I got in my logs. I see it happened at 4:51 p.m. according to my time here in Eastern time. So you will also see how many requests you no like how many. If I send one more, right, I got again 200. Now I will come here and see in the output. See right now 4:59. So you see 4:59, there is a log here. So this dynamic, it's so dynamic that you can see from here how many requests are coming to this application, right? We are trying to create this application as shown here in the picture: HTTP listener flights and get flights and the data view. These are the three components. So I'm just looking where he has walked through those steps. Okay, all right. So click on the add button next to the HTTP listener card, and then let's search for what? American Flights API. Are you all guys doing this? So click this American Flights API, select this, and then there are multiple. So inside this there are what are all this? These are all different resources: create flight, delete flight, get flight. These are all different resources. So let's see what we wanna. So select the get flights one. So now let's select get flights here on the top, and then so here we come and click add connection. So in the add connection we have to mention the connection name and connection type. So what will American Flights will be the connection name. Do you want me to paste this in the chat box, or you guys got it in the
We are on it.
American Flights will be the name of the connection, and the connection type will be the connection which comes in the drop down, and click on the save button. So I am just creating a connection here so that I can call this. What is this? So I have a question here. uh, what is this American Flights? What are we doing here, in the connection, and what we are doing here? Can anyone explain?
We are securing it with credentials like host, port number, and yeah.
In
American Flights is a API. We are making a call to it.
Yes, we are making a call to the American Flights API. That is correct, and we are getting it from the exchange, which is already up and running somewhere. Okay, basically we are calling a web service which is deployed somewhere. That's correct. And then at the bottom here, do you all have the snippets file open, like we have downloaded in the last class, right? So let
Yes.
me open that snippets file. Let's go down and select the, in the line 38, like American Flights API configuration values, you will see there is a host name, port name, and base path. So we'll be copying each of these values into our configuration. So I'll first copy the American for host name of this American Flights API, go to my design center. In the host name, I paste it in the host name, and the port I have it as 80 and mention that. and in the base path is just one slash, which is automatically there, and the port protocol of this application will be HTTP, not HTTPS. So once you have pasted this, you can also click this test button on the top to see if that application is really there or not, right? So it says it's testing and testing failed. We are unable to reach your service. Check your connection settings and try again. Okay. And right now we'll just click on save. Now we will be using the client ID and secret from the snippet file again. So you already have the client ID secret just above this configuration, right? Which we have used earlier in the part 2 session. So I copy this client ID, I paste it here, and then I copy this client secret, I paste it here in the next screen once you save that configuration, right? And then I'll go back. Now to save this settings, I'll just simply close it and it's there. Now we have successfully implemented the American Flights API call. And now we'll click the test button in the main menu bar, wait until the application is running. So I'll go and test this application again. So to see the logs, where do we go? We go to the bottom and click on logs here, and we'll see the status of the application. You can also expand this to off of the screen. And you see a message successfully reconnected. So once this is successfully reconnected, how do I test this application? Anybody?
From the advanced REST client.
Perfect. So I go to advanced client and nothing changed. Nothing of this change. We didn't touch the listener part. We just added new request. So I'll still make the same call. It says sending message. I got a response. So what happened? It successfully implemented the get flights call, right? Let me know if you guys face any trouble here so far in your on your systems.
Uh, actually, I completed till I haven't configured API. Actually, I was not well today, so can I go with the recorded session?
Okay. I mean, these are simple steps. If you have followed, you would have been more
Yeah,
enthusiastic.
till logger info, it was got okay, like
Okay.
succeeded green.
And then you just have to click on this plus button, and then you have to select flights API. So once it comes right, you have to select that
Yeah,
and then click on this get flights button,
yeah,
and then you have to just select. Oh, sorry, I already have this. So you have to put in the client ID, client secret. They are all in the snippets: host name, post name, port number, base path, and protocol. After that, you have to put client ID, sign client secret, just like we do this in the advanced REST client. We tested already. Same thing we are putting it here, and then close it, and then just test it. That's it. Simple step. If you are
yeah. Actually, yeah, I followed everything, but today I was not well. That's why I was unable to do.
okay, and then if you guys are here, then let's put a transform message. So right now I'm getting a response of all the fields, right? Now what we can do some massaging to this response which you are getting from the flights message. We can manipulate, transform, filter, massage, anything to that. How do we do that, right? So we go and click on the add button uh, after this, and then click on transform, transform. So once transform is here, this is a very beautiful technology and tool in the MuleSoft which is used for data mapping. So earlier in Java or any other language, for mapping these fields, it would take thousands and hundreds and thousands of lines of code to map each object into the right, whatever the format it is, from JSON to Java object, or Java object to JSON, or if it is XML, it's more lines of code. So, but in MuleSoft, I haven't written any single line of code so far, if you see. And I can see this, I can see all these fields which I got in response. So ID, code, price, departure, origins, all these fields are popping up here, ready to get mapped, right? And now I'm going to map them. So here I'm coming and clicking and selecting this create new data type. So the output, what exactly I'm trying to do here. So I want to modify this output, what I'm getting. To modify this, I need a new type. What kind of type, what type of data I want to see, right? That is called a data type. What type of data you want to see. So I want to create this new data type. So in this new data type, I want it as a name as flights. So on the top, I name it as flights, and this will be a JSON format, or you can select any other format. But for now, for this training, we'll select the JSON format. And once it's there, type form from example. Where is from example? Yeah, from example is selected, right? And then in the, okay, now go back to your student resource folder. As you see in my on my screen, right? I go to the resource here below the snippets, resources, examples, and let's copy the flights example.json, this one. Not flights, there are two JSONs. Flights is the one we are interested in. Flights example.json. So I open it with the Visual Studio or any tool, and then I copy this entire structure. This is called what? This entire structure. Anybody?
JSON.
JSON object, yes. And then I paste it into this JSON example. So I'm saying the new response I like to get is this structure. So basically I don't want ID. So if you see here, I'm getting ID, which I don't want. And there is a plain object here, which I don't want. I want just this simple kind of structure. This is what I'm trying to explain to this UI. See, I want this kind of structure, and then save. Right now, did I do any mapping? No, but I defined a type, what type of data I want to get. And then once you click on save, if it is still loading, you all can come to this runtime manager and then select this application and click on restart. So if you click this drop down, you will see the restart button. Do not click on delete. If you delete, you have to redo the entire steps again. Click on restart, and then check on the logs if it is restarting. I think in the process it got stuck somewhere. Okay, I'm just performing that step again. Before that, I'll just test. Okay, transform message, and then set an existing one, select. Okay, so if you guys are still facing trouble, let me know. I can see my data type, and I'm mapping price to price, and this departure date to departure date, and then plane to total seats, plane to, so inside plane there is one more object called total seats to total seats, empty seats to empty seats. Are you guys good or facing any trouble?
Doing it again, Joel.
Doing it again. Yeah, doing it again.
Like are you copying and pasting this structure, or because you don't
Yeah.
have to do that, you can click on use existing, and then there will be already created one. If you have created one before, you can just select that and it will pop up here.
Okay.
Now I have done mapping. Now I am going to test this again, and I have some more mapping, plain type to plain type. I go here again and then click plain type to
Yeah, this is what happening. It suddenly became undeploying, and again we should start refresh, and for refresh it is taking forever again.
this is just for learning purpose. I don't think I have not seen or not used this workflow earlier, but this is just for your knowledge purpose. So once you get familiar with what we are doing here, then the next phase is like in the Anypoint Studio, you'll get an idea what we are doing there with the code. So this is just for your getting idea. We won't be doing this kind of development in the real time world. So this will be mostly used by the business people if they have any ideas and want to test or any POCs, then they would like to get something up and running immediately to test that, right? Their ideas, so they can come here. The business people, they don't have to do much coding, and then they can straight away launch an application and do their implementation of those ideas here without any coding, and then test the application. That is the whole purpose of these workflows, which are not uh, for the developers and to develop serious APIs. These are just for testing purpose. If it's still loading, let's skip this part because it's taking a lot of time, right? If it's up and running, let me know, or else we can skip this. Okay, you guys can come back to my screen, and here if you see, this what we have done. We have designed, we have tried to consume something, and we are doing all of that and deployment here on the Mule runtime, and managed, like we have seeing the logs, right? That comes under management. And engage means seeing these logs and trying to restart, redeploy. We are clicking all those buttons. It's called engaging with the platform. And also we have consumed the get flights API from the exchange, so that is also engaging with the platform. And this is right now an HTTP protocol, right? And my application can only access that when with the client ID and secret. We have seen that. So how to secure also we have seen. So these all are happening inside the Anypoint platform. We don't have to buy or purchase any new products or services or consume outside the Anypoint platform or out of the MuleSoft to implement the API. This is the whole point of introducing the Anypoint platform. So this is the Anypoint platform right now we have seen. Now let's jump into the designing APIs. So in the designing APIs, in the intro, so here as we spoke earlier, we'll actually look at the design, simulate, feedback, and validate. The one we have seen so far, the workflow is also part of this, but that is more advanced level. But here we are looking at specifically RAML. Okay, so what RAML means? RESTful API Modeling Language. This is specifically used for RESTful services. Okay, and here we'll be doing in this designing phases. Will be writing the RAML in API designer and then mocking the service. Like once we design, we have to mock them. Mocking means to put some dummy data or some false data so that it will be up and running and will be giving a response, some response, just to validate if that response is correct, and just to validate the structure remains intact, and just to validate that the right fields are part of the request and response. This all comes under the validation. So to validate that, we have to mock them. So mock them with some structured data that the customer or the consumer, whoever is using our service, will validate, okay, in the student data, if I make a flights call, my requirement, I am the consumer of this service, flight service, so I basically am looking for the I don't care about ID, I don't care about the code. These are all the business related information. I would be more concerned and would be interested in pricing, departure date, and where it is starting from, and that where it is going destination, and how many seats are left. I don't care about even total seats and the plane type or any of this. So in this case, I'm trying to test this API. Now the flights, the guy, whoever is maintaining this API in the Cloud Hub, so this guy gave me this URL, and whenever I hit, I'm getting the same response, right? So I don't like it personally. I don't want most of the field, they are unnecessary. So I'll text him, hey, you're sending so many fields, I just need these. So I'm validating. This is called, so this guy actually, has this guy done anything? He just put few minutes of time and created some mocking data, and then able to validate with the business instead of going entire life cycle of an API, getting the requirements, and then developing the API, putting the loggers and deploying it over to the server, and then doing the testing. And also there's so many things one to get an API up and running. But using MuleSoft, it's just minutes of time. It saves once the entire business validation is done, like right fields are being sent, and once I approve, like I'm satisfied with the response, then this guy will actually implement the API. Like this data will be dynamically populated. Like this guy might be getting this data from the database or other server or anywhere else. Then he can work on that backend work of mapping, filtering, getting the data, and all that stuff. But the end response is been validated already. So we know the expectation and we know the requirements. So now we can work on the back end without any tension of what will happen in the future. So because we know the response, we work and put our efforts towards getting that response, which is already be validated. That is the whole purpose of doing this, mocking the data, right? And then once it's good, we feel like developing it, like then we'll publish it over to the exchange. So these, we'll be looking at these all steps now. So these are all the approaches of designing an API. If you are not using MuleSoft, you might any other technology, then they might be using API blueprint is one way of writing the skeletons or the services for building an API, and hand coding, as you, if you know the Java development, you know how to write stubs and skeletons, then that's one way, which takes lots of time and efforts. And Open API spec is also one way of writing the API definitions. Any questions so far?
No job.
Okay, let's start with the walkthrough of RAML. So now let's jump into the RAML. Return to the design center. Now we'll go back to the design center. Okay, forget about this API. And then we'll click on this. I'll delete this one too. And then click on this create new button on the top and select new API specification and name it as American Flights API. Create new spec and paste American, A uppercase, F uppercase, API is in uppercase, rest all in lowercase. American Flights API. In the drop down, click new API specification. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Okay. And click on the create API. Now this will automatically populate some of the lines. Here you will see RAML version and also the title of this API. Okay. Now what is this entire view, right? On the left side you see the files, On the center side, you see the place where you write the code. At the bottom, you see the recommendations, like it will suggest you what to write instead of typing everything. This is very proactive, user friendly, and this is very intelligent. You'll mostly click and type instead of you can just type first letter, and then you can select this auto populated values. This will make development easy. On the left side, this is called the preview place, where you can, this is dynamic. As soon as you write something, that will populate here as a response. So based on that, you can easily write the definition of the API. So now let's start with the flights resource. Okay, so in the editor, new line, and then add resource called flights. So how does a resource start with? So go to line 4, click on /, and then flights and colon. This is called a resource. So if when I create a resource, on the left side you see the resource name /flights already. And if you guys are here, click on enter. So as soon as you click on enter, there is a tab space after flight which is automatically populated, and down you see there are all this auto populated things: methods, docs, types and traits, security, and parameters. So right now I'm interested in putting 2 methods. So these flights can get the flight details, and also I can post. So if I click on get, then get can be of what? Get can be of a body, and all these parameters, headers, query parameters, query strings, responses. So you can use all this. Basically you can just click and write the code. So I get this get. If I want to insert one more method, I click one backspace and select post. Now you see beside the flights you see 2 methods, right? Do you understand how friendly it is for the developers to write code?
Yes.
Any questions so far?
No, Joe.
Awesome. And then in the editor, now let's put a query parameter /id. Okay, now I go back and slash. Now in the same under flights, I also want this ID. If you remember earlier, we called some of the flights using IDs, right? In the query parameter after /flight/number 3, and we got the flights going to Cleveland. Do you remember? So if I want such kind of API implementation, then it can be /ID. And ID can again be what? Get method, right? So I'll put a enter and then select get. You guys have to do along with me. If you just listen and then go back to this design center, you don't know where to put enter, you don't know where to put tab space, you don't know where to select what. So make sure you do along with me. Otherwise you have to spend 1 more hour, 2 hours on your personal time. If you put under full concentration now, you will be able to learn in this session only. So get, this is a get call. So I put a get method here, right? And then go down, and then in the flights we would like to get method, and not for the in the editor indent under the flights get method, and then pick the query parameters. So after this get, uh, if you remember, we also had some query parameters like destination, Cleveland, right? So I get under the get method, I select the query parameters. Does post have any query parameters or URI parameters? It's just as body, so it doesn't have this query parameters and all, right? Only for the get methods it will have. So it is a sequence. So as soon as you click here, first comes method, then comes the uh, inside values like query parameters or what kind of body you are looking for, or the application type. They are all based on the type, method type you choose. So in the query parameter, I call it as destination. Okay, so I copy this in the query parameters. I put destination is the name of the query parameter, and what is the type of the destination? It is a let's go back and see. It is a required field. So if destination is not been passed, then I don't want to enable that call. So I'll put required. So 100% you have to send the destination in this way. You can't skip it. And the destination value can be of one type, it can be a enum says what all type of destinations are available. So let's put SFO, LAX and Cleveland for now. So I'll copy this SFO, LAX and Cleveland. So SFO and then enter. These are all the different destinations. Are you guys till here so far?
So,
Yes, sir.
query parameters, right? So everybody understood what is query parameters?
Yes.
So if you want to test this, right, on the left side, you go and click get, and you see all the documentation is ready. Have you written any of this? It's all ready. So in the query parameters, you see try. So click on try it. In the try it, see these are all the options available. Do you see what we are trying to do exactly?
So basically filtering based on the destination, right, Joe?
Yes, yes, yes.
So example, even in the Amazon website, if you can just click Amazon website, right? Just, is it possible for you to? Yeah. Amazon. So when you click Amazon, yeah, you are seeing all the here. If you see, there is different products. But now, if you want to search by, I mean, if you want to filter only iPhone, in the search bar, you will just try, yeah, here. Yeah, just you will put iPhone, right? iPhone. So question mark K equal to iPhone. The starting Amazon.com. Yeah, this one, see. So basically, first it showed all the products. And when you searched with iPhone, it took the iPhone as a query parameter and filtered those products. So similar way, and what Joe was saying, the destination is a query parameter.
Perfect. Any questions, guys?
No, Joe.
Have you done so far here till here?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So you can also click on this summary, go back, and then get ID, and then try it, and then click type 9 or something, and then send. You should get a response. Response we haven't implemented for now. Just 200. Okay, is good. That is what we are trying to do here. Test all the services basically. So here, right, we were talking about the mocking. So this is now we have built a very basic minimum skeleton, a RAM API definition. So I go back to my summary and click on flights. So in the services button here, you see there is one button called make it public. So basically the mocking service, whichever you have done, whenever you click try it, this URL is generated, right? If I select this URL and go to, and I put some ID here and then try it, this is working successful here, that is good. But if I select this URL and now I'm sending it over to you guys, and can you guys access it? No, because it's not accessible. This is protected. And if you want that to be accessible, go to this mocking service configuration and make this public, enable this. And a new link is been created. So copy this link and go to the browser and paste. And then slash flight and flights slash id. See, I got at least to a page where it is accessible, right? Once you make it public, you can send it to the business, and then that they can validate instead of directly accessing your API. I mean, building your API, you can mock the service and then you can give to the business. Did you understand what I'm trying to do here, all of you?
Yeah, Azure.
Yes, Joe.
You can also set an expiration date for this link. So today is Saturday, and I generated this mock URL and I gave to the business, and I asked them to validate. And I don't feel comfortable on let testing on I don't feel comfortable on giving them service for long time, because I have to make changes and I have a date, end date, like target date I have to complete by Sunday evening. So I have pretty much select here Sunday night. So I'll go to this calendar and select Sunday as the expiry date, and this service will stop working from Sunday. So in that way you can tell business, hey, this will stop working from Sunday, make sure you test it by today, right? Something like that. You can also set an expiry date for this mocking service so that they can test and let you know, hey, I'm getting this response and this looks good, and they'll respond back to you. And now let's look at how to add a header to this RAML, right? And one more thing they are talking about here is, once you copy this and go to advanced REST client and paste it, test the flights get resource, and then test the ID, and then test the flights post resource, right? And we have tested all those. Test the flights get resource through the shareable link we just tried, and then I think that's it. We're good. Now we will walk through add request and response details. So far we have, whatever we are trying to test, we are not getting any response. It's just a plain response, right? So now let's go back and add some request response. Add a data type. This is the session where we add the data type, and where we'll get the request and response. So first one, we'll click on the API designer in the file browser, click on the dependencies button, and then we'll select American training, American flights data type, flights example both. So go back to your designer. On the left side, you'll see the dependencies button, right? And then click on plus in the fragments. And in the search bar, you type the American flights data type, select that, and also American flights example. Select both of them, add two dependencies. So here we are trying to add something which are predefined. So you can also, whenever you write something, you can decide if you want these to be implemented only to this API, or can they be reused for any APIs. They are called, instead of writing destination every time, right? Destination is a enum type, and destination is a required value, and destination contains so all this SFO, LAX, and Cleveland. So instead of mentioning all this every time you write a API, you can just have them and then publish it over to the exchange as a data type, as a fragment, they are called fragments. Every component which are reusable are called fragments or traits. So you can publish them and you can reuse them. So right now I have imported something from Exchange which somebody else wrote the code. So in the as soon as you import them here, when you come back to files, you will see them in the Exchange modules. So do you see them here? One is data type, one is an example. In the example, you have this structure. If you see the structure, does it recollect you anything? This is the same structure as we were been seeing the response for the flights API, right? ID code, all these are just like this, but this is a data type, or this is an example actually. This is how the response should be, and the data type will be like this. What is the type? It is an object. What is the that object will have some properties. Every object will have some properties, and that properties will be what? ID will be of what? Integer. And code will be a string. Price will be a number. So if you see, ID is a integer which is not with quotes. Integer are just numbers, and code is a string, right, which is in a string, and price is number again. See, exactly, right? Does it match or not? So plain is what is the data type of plain here? Can anybody guess? This is neither string nor number. What is the type of the plain here? Hello.
Yeah, Jojo. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah.
So ID is what? Here ID is what? Number. Code is string. And this is all what? What is all this? Object, right?
Yeah.
And what is this one here?
Object only, the plain object.
Perfect. Yeah, plain is an object. So if you go back here, if you see plain, the type is object. And then this object will again have what? Properties. And the properties will have these two fields. So again, plain is a type of object. And inside object, again, you have properties. See? And in the properties, again, you have these fields, type and total seats. And again, for type, it's string, total seats, it's integer. Any questions here? Because you have to make sure you understand this. This is the core first step of the API. If you understand this, you can write any design of a API.
You mean that object is inside another object?
This
I
is
mean, plain is okay.
This is a nested object, one object inside another.
Yeah, I got it now. Yeah.
Whenever you see curly braces or square braces, that is an object. If it is square brace, it means it has similar objects, but with many similar objects. Like this is one object. So many of these curly braces are together represented by one square brace. Okay. Any questions?
No, Joe.
Okay. Once we import these two things here, and then you have you can see them dependencies, and then define the American flights data types for the API. Now we imported them, but how does the main file of what we are creating knows that we have to import these things, right? So to do that, we have to have some import statements. So how to write import statements? So you have to go and type types on the main folder beside the title. So all the definitions have to be on the top of the implementation. So you see, I just typed ty and it auto populated, and I just clicked enter and types came in. In the types, I have to mention what is the name of the type. Here I will call it as a American flights type. So name of the type is American flights, and then colon, space, and we will import it. How do we import? We'll import with -include, exclamatory mark, include, and then see it's automatically populating here exchange modules, and then this number of, or a file name, and then data type, and 1.0.1, and select that. And that is how you import the things from the modules, exchange module. Okay, have you imported all of you this one?
Just a second.
How far are you guys at? Have you imported the modules?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And implemented these types here on the top?
Yes, sure. Like I'm writing that include statement.
Okay, it's a exclamatory mark, include, and then everything will auto populate at the bottom.
Uh,
If you don't have that, you can you can click this little arrow, and that will pop up. So once you have this, I have to tell I just imported, I haven't used yet. Just like in the Java, you have the import statements, but you have to use those methods, right? Just like that, I have imported this, but where do I use it? So I use it in the response. So I'll first go here and check what exactly it is. So this looks like the type of a response I'm trying to give to my calling service. So this is a query parameter. So whenever someone calls this get method with this query parameter, I want to give a response. So response will come beneath, immediately after this method name. So method name is get, and then with a gap, with a tab space, you will write response. So responses, and what kind of response? It's a 200, right? And then click 200, and then in the 200, I can mention the body, and then in the body I'll select it as a JSON body, right? It's a JSON body. So I click JSON, and in the JSON I already have an example, so I don't have to write it again. So I will pull in the resource which example which is in the modules here. This example is basically have to come there instead of rewriting everything. So how do I import? I come here, and then um, I'll type first. Let's put type because we already imported it, and American flights. So American flight is the name here, which is defined again here. So we are calling American flights here. This is how you pull that import statement. So how do you test it? So I click on get method, try it, and then send. Since American flights is an object, we have to make sure we put the square braces. And under examples, I have to mention the American flights API.raml. So output again, include statement, and then modules, and then example, this one here and this one here. Now if I click send, I got a response, right? Okay, so guide me here for the post method. So for the post method, whenever a ID is selected, I want to give a response for this get method. Guide me, how do I write it?
so what was the requirement? Can you come again on that?
Sorry?
Can you come again on that? So what was the requirement for the post?
So this is a post method. Sorry, not post method. Sorry. This is a ID for a get method and ID, and I want to give a response same like above for
Okay.
that particular ID. So can you guide me how to write the response for this ID method?
So basically, you need to take the body for that, for the responses.
Okay, so for to write response, first I have to go one tab space back.
Okay.
Below the resource, one tab space, you will write the responses. So here,
Actually, should we write it below the post or like after the ID?
post is for this guy, flight,
Okay.
and this is for ID we are writing.
Okay.
The responses, and then 200, right? Yes, no?
Yeah. Yes. It's 200.
200, and then body,
Next body.
and then which kind of body we are
JSON application JSON
perfect. And then in the
type
JSON, yes, we are defining a type.
American flight.
Correct. Exactly. See, awesome. Then
Examples.
now we have to define an example for the same response, same thing. So
Yeah.
saying we have a different response for the post method because sorry, ID, because let's dialog box and create new import. Okay, in the student file we have a American flights example.raml. This is a raml which is already predefined, written by some other developer. Let's assume this is written by some other developer. Now I just want to use that into my some app I'm creating right now, American flights. I want to use this into my app. So how do I import that, right? So I'll just minimize this and click on here on the top. Let's just create a new folder and then name it as examples. So I'll put a new folder, and folder name is examples, create, and you see there is a new folder created. Examples and example modules are right now 2 folders in my machine. And inside the examples, I go for the import statement. Import, and then what kind of file is that? It's a file or zip, not a URL. Now I go and click choose file, and then I'll go to my downloads and guide to the place where my resources are there, and I'll select that RAML file, open and import. Now I can see that the import file will be present in the examples folder. Let me know if you guys have imported successfully. So sometimes when you are working with different colleagues and they don't want to publish this over to the exchange, and they gave you a hard copy over to you in a Google chat or in a Slack or in any other communication that you are using, right? He gave you a file directly. So this is how you import this RAML file into your project. And here there is again a sample value, and it's a named example, right? So once I have it there, how do I import? Now I want to put this as an examples. So I go back to my application here, type, and then okay, type is there. Now let's put examples and output just like above, import, include. Type and examples have to be in one line. Include examples and the flight. And for the ID, now you can go and try it and mention some ID and then send. We got a response for ID1. Got it? Nice. So now we understood, right, what exactly we did here. This is how you define the method. First of all, after a resource name you define a method, and then and based on that method you can define the responses, the status code, and if it is a post, then you can define the body. Here it's a get, but still what kind of response you want to define, you define that like this. This is a hierarchy. Let's continue to add an example, and we have done that. Review and test, we have done that. Specify the file. Now we have not implemented the post, it's still abandoned here. So let's implement the post. So post will have a body, and the body is application JSON, and the type will be American flight again. And so return to the American flights example, that RAML. So he is asking us to go in here and copy this entire RAML. In the file browser, click add button next to the example folder and select new file. So here in the folder you can go inside and then click on duplicate. If you click on duplicate, it will ask for the name. Just change the name to American flights no id example.raml. So we are creating a new file here. I'm just making a duplicate. So in this file again, I'm trying to have everything similar to the one which I've imported. So I remove everything, paste, and now I don't want an ID here. So everything else remains the same. Delete the line of the code containing the ID. So I deleted this. So this is a new example without an ID. So in the post method we don't show the ID. That's the whole intention. Now we in the post method we go back here, and then in the type we have defined, instead of type we'll go and put let the type be, and then here we will put example. Examples input. Include, and we'll point it to the examples and no id example.raml. So this will be the request type. So have we defined the response for this post or not yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, when you see response, then only it means, so for the flight get we have a response here. See, for the id we have a response. For the post we just define the body. So what we are saying is we are expecting a type of this type, not in the body. So when I have post method, you have to send a body, right? Body of this type we are expecting. That is what we are defining here. And in the post method responses, go to the 9201 responses. Okay. Here we are defining the response. So post responses, and then 201 for the post. Is it 201? Yes, 201. And then the body is application JSON, and the example, or we can put example actually, and then put the copy the message, flight added but not really. So yesterday, in the last class, we have seen whenever we try to post, and then we are all posting that, and we are getting a response that it's added but not really, right? This is how we define a response. Make sense? Yes, no, doubts, questions?
It makes sense, Joe.
Okay, you would need to get familiar to this. So when customer or client ask you to write a RAML, do not get panic. It's just easy. You have to spend some time, think about it, what you are trying to implement. First comes what? The resource name, and then comes the number of methods. In the flights resource, how many methods are there so far?
2
What are those?
flights and ID.
Flights and
Flight.
in the flights, how many methods are there? Methods.
Get and post.
Perfect. But get and post again internally have responses. In the response, you have to define what kind of response and the 200 body application, all this. And if it is XML, application slash XML. So this is how you define the RAML. RAML means the definition of the API. And yeah, once I have this ready, we looked at the cycle. Once we have it, I enable the mocking, and then let's assume business accepted this response request, everything. They are very happy with the request they are sending. They are happy with the response they are getting. All the field names are correct. We are approved basically, right? So what is our next step? We have to publish this. We can go here on the top and click on publish. You all can go forward and click on publish. Did you get this screen? Publish to exchange,
Yes, sir.
and click on publish to exchange. Now you will be able to, you have published your first RAML definition. Congratulations. Now you can go to exchange once it's published and verify if it got published. See, publish to exchange. Now you can go to exchange here and you see American Flights API. Are you guys able to see this?
Yes.
And if you search in exchange, you will see with the developer name. See, I got my name here. Are you guys able to see your names?
Yeah.
Perfect. So this is how we publish the exchange. And as you see in the exchange, right, you can, if you go inside, there are many versions. So tomorrow someone comes to us and says, hey, you have ID, you have this flights, I want to implement something else. I want to add Dallas to this enum value, some other airport, right? Love Field, some other things. Then that will be a change in the definition. Change in definition will always have to be published again. If you change here and save it, nothing gonna be impactful. So you have to publish it again. So if you publish it again, it will ask for you to change the version number. So it automatically gives you 0.1.0.1 automatically populates. Okay, so you have to make sure you populate that and publish. So here you'll be able to see all the versions here on the top, manage versions, and you will see how many versions have been deployed so far, and which version is stable, and where the mocking service is available. Make sense?
Yes, Joe.
Okay. In API, it's same thing. So you come in the API, it looks good, right? This looks like a small web page with good documentation. So business will come here, they'll check, hey, what is this guy doing? Okay, there is a get method. Okay, I'll mention something, I want to test the API, and then I click send. Then this is still up and running. See, they can test this whenever they get question, they want to show it to their business or some big higher authority people, right? They want to show them like, hey, this API will be like this, and this is the response. Are you okay with this? So they can always come to action. They don't have to come to you and bother you to give request and response all the time. They can play around. They can know, they can see how many methods you have implemented, what all it does, all the documentation. And if you want additional documentation, then also you can click on this edit documentation at the home button here, and then type Hi, this is a flights API. Initial version developed by dev team on Jan 14th. And then save and then publish. So they can read this initial some of the script as well. You can put screenshots, videos, you can put many things. This works as a documentation. This is called exchange documentation. So let's add some script here. Add information about the API. On the left, go to the home, edit documentation button as I've just shown. Click on the edit button and then in the snippet, copy the American Flights API description text. So copy this text. Go to your snippets file. In the line number 45, and the description is American Flight API description text. So copy all those 5 lines of text, go back to your Exchange home page, edit documentation, and then paste it there and save it. So I want this American table as bold. Then I click on B, and then I want this 3 resource in a point wise. So I click this and then publish. So I get this in like this bold script and point wise. Let me know if you are at this point. We can continue after this. Okay. All right. Next, we'll go to our design center back. And now for the ID, we'll also implement the delete method. We have tested on the part 2 of this tutorials that we can implement different methods for ID. Now let's implement a delete method. Type delete. And then for delete again, I have to put some response, right? For that, delete responses. For delete response, it has to be 200 again, 200 body, and you can basically copy all from the line 33 to 35 and then paste it on to your and you can mention flight deleted but not really. Once you implement this, Varun, have you done this simple step?
Yeah, doing it.
Okay, and then publish it, but with a version number of incrementation 1.0.1. Very good. Now go back to your Exchange and see if your changes have been reflected in the home page or summary page. In the summary page, you should get what here beside the flight/ID. You should see delete.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, once you see that, again click edit the doc, go to home page and click on edit documentation and add one more point. Now we have added the delete, right? So delete a flight. And then publish. The output has to be like this, 4 points.
Yeah.
Great. Now we have seen how to write API definition, how to make changes, how to publish, how to search in Exchange, and what is the version changes, right? All of this we have seen. So right now 1.0.1 is the latest and the latest is available. um, and we have seen how to write the documentation, all of this. And one last module, after this we'll wind up the class. So share the API with the organization using private exchange, create a public API portal, customize a public portal, and explore the public portal as an external developer. Suppose you have done right now, you have done this, but you want this to be given not to your business, you want this to given to some other outside the organization. So you want this to send to different company all together. So you can't give this access to your consumer, right? You have to give them as a website somewhere they can access publicly and test. So to do that, we will create a we'll create a small website kind of portal where the end user can see and play through and understand this API what it does. Okay, so to create the portal we have to share the API in private exchange with others. So return to American and click share button. So in the here there is a share button, click on that, and to the public we are selecting it to the public, and this is the first version, select one. Now where are we? Now click on save. Once you click on save, you will get a link, so you can learn more about the public portals here, but right now we'll just continue with the tutorial. And now it's there, go back to your assets. Now on the left side here, if you go back to the exchange, you see the public portal button here, right? You see, click that.
Oh.
So this is the public portal. No matter if I give you or you give me this portal address here on the top, and there is one API which we just wrote and published it over to the public exchange. Now this is available across. Now you can give it to out of organization or give to someone in South Africa, India, or anywhere else. They will all be able to access this. Make sense?
Yes, Joe.
Now I don't like the look of it. So basically if I see this looks so old fashioned. I don't like it. So you can customize this also, just like you can customize your websites. Okay. So let's go and customize little bit here and click on the custom button here on the top. And then you will see all the options open for you to customize. And then you can basically let's custom something in the title field, change the text to welcome to your MuleSoft training portal. Okay, copy this text. Do you want this in the chat or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, so go back to here, welcome to your developer portal. So this title looks so bad. If a different external customer looks at this, you will see welcome to the developer portal. It doesn't make any sense. So you will basically try to change it to welcome to your MuleSoft training portal. And then there is a space. And what else we want to make changes? And in the logo field, click choose file and select MuleSoft training logo.png. So again in your folders, go back to your there is one file called MuleSoft training logo.png, right? So you go to your exchange and in the logo on the top I want that. So logo now changed to MuleSoft/training. Looks good, right? Hero on the bottom, you choose and select banner. Now how does it look? Professional, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can customize however you want. And then change color that you want and click done editing button. If you want any changes, you can change them. Yeah, that's it. We have completed the designing part. Can you Varun, can you send me your exchange portal URL. I'll send mine. Let me know if you can access mine, and let me access yours.
This create whatever the concepts that Joe covered today is very important, like creating RAML, and then he explained about the versions, methods, resources, and publishing into the exchange and to the portal. This is very important when you land into a project. As Joe mentioned, that the API definition, right? The RAML is more important. Once that is defined, then everything is back-end work. The implementation is not a big deal. But creating the API definition is like what does that request response? What are the error codes? What is the resource name and the methods? Once that is defined, then it's just a matter of creating flows and then just connecting the dots, connecting the connectors. That's all.
True. Are you guys there? Can you access my link I sent in the chat?
Hey Varun and Namrit, yeah, it's a interactive session, right? So you should not be in mute. Because you can't get this kind of session anywhere. I mean,
Yeah, Jana, yeah.
Can you send me?
We can open the link, but something is went wrong with mine. I couldn't open it. I'm working on it, Joe.
You couldn't open your. Did you go to your API and in the settings, right? In the share, you have to go to a public tab, click on that version, and then save. Then that's publicly available.